Hi, welcome to Right to Top. I'm Adam, and in today's video, I'm going to look at the IELTS speaking test, and in particular, part 2 of the IELTS speaking test. We're going to look at basically what's going to happen during this part of the test, how you should approach this test, what you should do with the card you're given, how you should prepare in the time you're given to prepare, how you should speak, what you should speak about, etc. And we're also going to look at some ways that you can prepare for this test before test day. So when you go to the actual test, to your official test, you should be ready, you should be confident, you should be able to do this test very well. Now, why am I focusing on this particular part? For many people, this is the most difficult part of the speaking test. This is the part where you're by yourself speaking for 1 to 2 minutes. The interviewer doesn't ask you any questions. He or she may not give you any sort of hints. He or she may look at you a little bit in a way that's uncomfortable for you. Maybe they'll smile, maybe they won't. You have to be ready for everything. So let's begin with what will happen. So part 2, we call this the monologue. Monologue means speaking alone, as opposed to dialogue, which is a conversation. It goes 2 ways. So part 1, you're going to have the interviewer asking you questions. You're going to be answering them. In part 2, you'll be given a card, okay? And on this card, you're going to be given a topic and some questions about this topic. And you have to speak by yourself for 1 to 2 minutes, okay? Now, you will be given 1 minute to prepare, and you will have your paper, you will have a pen, you can write down notes. We're going to talk about whether you should or not take notes. And then you're going to have to start speaking when the when the interviewer tells you to start speaking. You'll have to speak for a minimum of 1 minute, a maximum of 2 minutes. But what I want you to do, I want you to aim for 1.5 to a minute 45. If you speak too little, they will ask you to say more. If you speak too much, they'll cut you off and you don't get to have a good, solid conclusion like you should. Okay? So you're going to be given a card, a minute to prepare, 1 to 2 minutes to speak. How should you approach this? Let's look. Okay, first of all, let's look at the card that you're going to be given. It'll be something like this. It'll be a small card with exactly this structure of topic and questions. You'll have to read it. In that 1 minute that you're given to prepare, you have to read the card, think about your answers, take notes if you want to, and then be able to answer all of these particular questions and give all this information required. So, describe a tourist attraction that you have visited in the past. You should say where this attraction is located, who you went there with, what you did or saw there, and whether you would recommend it to somebody else or not, and why. Okay, those are the things you're going to have to answer. So, what should you do first? Okay, so here's the general approach that you're going to take to part 2 of the speaking test. You're going to look at the question very carefully, okay? Describe a tourist attraction that you have visited in the past. So first thing you need to notice, it's a place you've already been to, not a place you want to go to. Not a wish, an experience. Past or future? Obviously past. What does that mean? Most of your speech is going to use the past tense verbs. Very important to pay attention to that. Is it experience or wish? Are you going to be talking about something you've already done or something that you wish to do, that you want to do? Again, your grammar is going to depend on whether it's done or wish. Is it in your country or abroad? So in this particular question, they don't say at home or abroad. So choose whatever you want. If it's something local, great. If it's something in another country from you, that's fine too. Ideally, go with what you know best. But we're going to talk about how to prepare a little bit later on. Figure out the details. Who, what, when, where, how. Generally, they're going to ask you detailed questions. They may ask you any one of these. Know everything. Know everything that you can about this particular topic. Who? Is it a person? Who is this person? In what time was he or she alive? Etc. In this case, it's a tourist attraction. So the who, the only thing that who applies to is who you went with, who you would like to go with, or who you think should go. Your friends, family, or everybody, etc. What means what is it? What is there to do? What is there to see? What makes this place famous? Anything with what? When did you go? When will you go? Again, that's the only time. When was this place built or constructed? When was it discovered, if it's a natural thing? Where is it? Okay, very simple. How? How can I get there? How can I enjoy it? How can I get the best view of whatever the place is? Okay. Understand the last component and be ready to develop that answer. Now, this is the most important thing. So, the last part of the question, say whether you would recommend it to others and why. This is where you're going to spend the most time of your speech. Okay? The details, very quick. The last part, the why or the whether you would recommend, etc., spend the most time on that part of the speech. Now, should you take notes or should you not take notes during the 1 minute preparation? Try both. Okay? Some people need to have their notes. They need to be able to look at something while they're speaking or they lose their focus. Okay? Other people, as they're taking notes, they get confused or they write full sentences, and that 1 minute goes very fast. If you're taking too many notes, you'll run out of time before you finish all the notes, before you get all your ideas down. Personally, I recommend no notes, but if you're going to get panicked during the speech and you're going to forget your ideas and you have nothing to look at, that's a problem too. Experiment both ways. Do a few practice tests with notes. Do a few practice tests without notes. Whichever works better for you is the one you should go with. Now, what I also tell some people, write your first sentence, the first sentence of your speech. That way, when the interviewer says, okay, you can begin now, you're ready to go. You can start speaking right away. And by having your first sentence, you will build momentum. And after you have your first sentence, you will already be speaking in English, and the second sentence will come more easily. And then the third, fourth, and then you have your whole speech. Again, practice both ways. Choose what is best for you. Have your opening sentence ready. Again, you can write it, you can think it, but be ready to speak right away. Now, when the interviewer says, okay, you can begin, don't take 10, 15 seconds to start. Start as soon as you possibly can to show that you're ready, that you're confident, that you have the English and the ideas ready to go. Do not read anything off the card during your presentation. So that card with the topic and the questions, don't read any of it out loud. Don't say, okay, where this attraction is located. Well, it's located here. No. Make it all part of the speech. We're gonna look at it a little bit more detail, but you're treating this talk like a little mini essay. Okay? So it has to have a flow, it has to be smooth, ideas have to link from one to the next, and it all has to go from beginning to end very smoothly. Don't read anything from the card. So, how are you going to break down your time? My recommendation, speak 30 to 45 seconds on the initial details. Who, what, when, where, how, etc. The why, which has to be more developed, which will be part of the last part of the test, whatever, of the part 2, that's where you're going to spend more time on. So where this attraction is located, who you went there with, what you did or saw there. All of these should be answered within 30 to 45 seconds. And then that leaves you about 45 seconds to a minute on the last part. And this part you have to develop. Whether you would recommend it to others and why. What about it is good or not good? Why would you recommend it? Why would you not recommend it? Make me believe that your recommendation is a good one, right? Make me understand why you recommend it. Spend more time on that. So now let's move on to the delivery. Now, a few things to keep in mind. Treat this talk as a mini essay. I mentioned it before. What does that mean? Have an introduction, have a body, have a conclusion. Make sure that ideas flow. Everything is in its place. What am I talking about? That's your introduction. So say like, okay, I'm going to discuss with you, or I'm going to talk to you about a tourist attraction that I had visited a long time ago with my parents, etc., etc. 1, you've given me an introduction sentence. 2, you've already given me one of the details, who you went there with. You can even include when. Technically, you can answer all the details in 2 or 3 sentences in like 20 seconds, but then you have to spend more time on the last part. So you can give a little bit more detail. Who you went there with my parents, who always love to go to natural places or to famous places, etc. Body 2, imagine there's a second body paragraph. Elaborate on the reasons. Why would you recommend this place? Why would you not recommend this tourist attraction? Again, you're not reading the cards. You're going to try to change as many of the words as you possibly can. Pay attention to the tense. It's a place you had visited in the past. Make sure your tenses are in the past tense. Would you recommend? Yes, because you think that people would enjoy it. So make sure you match all your verb tenses, etc. And try to have a conclusion. When you're done, make sure that the interviewer can understand, can hear that you're basically done. So that is why I would recommend this place. It's very basic, it's very simple. Don't worry too much about it. Don't spend too much time thinking about it. Just make sure that it's clear that you're done. And then the interviewer will either tell you to go on because you didn't speak long enough, or he'll say or she'll say, okay, thank you, and move on to part 3. Try to create a mental picture for the listener. What does that mean? Well, try to feed his or her senses, okay? What does the place look like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? If you can touch things, what do they feel like? Okay? Try to get all the senses, try to create a picture in the mind of the listener to show that you actually know this place very well. Delivery. Now, another thing to keep in mind. This test is not about content. It's a little bit about content, but it's more about English, right? They want to know that you can speak about a topic for an extended period and be clear, have a good flow, have intonation and tone, which we're going to talk about in a second. So don't panic if you don't know all the details. Just speak, speak, speak. That's the most important part. A few more things about the delivery. Avoid thinking sounds. And so then I went with my parents and we avoid all that. Thinking sounds shows that you're thinking about English. You're looking for the English words to use, or you're thinking about grammar. Try to avoid it. If you have to think, just be quiet. But ideally, just speak. Just try to use filler, basically. I went with my parents, my mom and dad, in the meantime you're thinking, and we went when I was a little kid because they liked taking me places, and then, so at least you're speaking while you're thinking. All these things, avoid them. Avoid dead time. So that's the other side of the coin. Try not to be silent for too long. Okay, if you're not saying anything, it means you're thinking about English. You're thinking about grammar. You're thinking about vocabulary. It means English is not very strong with you and your score is going down. Speak, 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 speak as much as you can. If you stumble, means if you fall, if you trip, if you make a mistake and you know you made a mistake, go back to the last clear point you had and start over. Don't panic. The more you panic, the more mistakes you're going to make and the whole thing falls apart. If you made a mistake, that's fine. Everybody makes mistakes. That's okay. Go back, calm down, start again, and keep going. Control the pace. Don't speak too fast. Don't speak too slow. Add intonation and stress. Make sure your sentences go up and down, up and down. Have flow. Make sure you don't have choppy sentences like this one because it doesn't sound very natural, right? So make sure you have clear flow. Make sure you're not monotone and only speaking in one tone that the person doesn't really know when your sentences are finished and when you're going on. Not monotone. Ups, downs, stress when you need it, pauses when you need them, etc. Avoid choppiness. Do not worry about grammar. If you're going to concentrate so much on grammar, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to get panicked, and you're going to make more mistakes. You're not looking for a perfect score. You don't need a 9. You don't need an 8.5. Most of you, I'd say 99% of you, don't need an 8. 7.5 will usually be enough for you for most things. Some of you do need an 8. That's another issue. But don't worry about grammar. Grammar is just one part of your score. They want to see you speaking naturally. They want to make sure they understand you. If you make a grammar mistake, but I can still understand what you're trying to tell me, not so bad. If you make grammar mistakes and I don't know what you're saying, that's a whole other issue. Okay, let's look a little bit more at other stuff. Okay, here are a few tips I want you to always keep in mind. And tip number 1, and never forget this one. This is the most important thing. If you forget everything else about this video, but you only remember one thing, this is it. Relax. 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 Because it's very important you stay relaxed, because when you're relaxed, you think more clearly. When you're relaxed, you speak in an even tone. When you're relaxed, It's easier to understand you. When you're panicking, that's when you start making mistakes. That's when you start losing the flow. That's when you start making it difficult for the listener to understand what you're saying. Okay? Now, some of you will think that you did very badly in part one. And because you think you did very badly in part one, you're probably going to do badly in part two because you can't relax. You're nervous. You're stressed. Let it go. Part one is finished. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can fix. Let it go. Don't think about it. Concentrate on part two. Right now you're doing part two. Concentrate on part two. Relax. Okay? Don't worry about the interviewer, but try to make eye contact. Now, some of you will have an interviewer who will sit there and smile and nod when you say stuff. This will encourage you. That's a good thing. Some of you will have an interviewer who will sit like this and just look at you, no expression. Or maybe they'll look like this and maybe they'll take some notes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the interviewer is doing. The interviewer is not the one being tested. You are the one being tested, okay? Relax. Do what you have to do. Speak. Be comfortable. Be natural. Use your good English that you worked hard to get, and don't worry about the interviewer. He or she will give you a score based on what you do, not what they do, okay? If you make a language mistake, excuse me, if you notice you made a grammar mistake, fix it right away. If you made a grammar mistake and then you keep talking and then suddenly you realize, oh wait, I made a grammar mistake about 10 seconds ago, don't go back and fix it. It's too late, it's done. Just keep going. If you try to go back and fix it, then you'll start tripping and making more mistakes. Let it go, relax. Stay on topic. Now, some of you get nervous and you think you're not speaking enough. I've had many students who do practice tests and I have to stop them at 2 minutes or 2 minutes and 10 seconds because first of all, they're talking too much now. And second of all, they're on a completely different topic. They're not even on their card anymore. They forgot what they were speaking about in the first place. Stay on topic. When you think you've given all the information you have to give, stop. Have your conclusion sentence and stop. If the interviewer says, please speak a little bit more, or if they ask you another question, speak a little bit more, just make something up. It doesn't matter. But stay on topic. Don't give details that are not important or relevant. The truth is not important. Okay? You can make up anything you want. If they ask you about your favorite book, you can talk about whatever book you thought of at that moment and just make up a story. Whether it's true or not, whether maybe the interviewer read this book and he knows that this is not actually the right information, who cares? It's not about the content, it's about the delivery. It's about how you speak, how you construct sentences, how you construct a full monologue from beginning to end. English and delivery are the most important thing, truth not. Okay? You can lie, you can make stuff up, it doesn't matter. But just to make sure that you're not forced to make stuff up and you get nervous because you want to stay relaxed, remember, I'll show you how to prepare before test day for that, which is be prepared. So let's look at that. An idea bank. This is very, very, very important that you do well before test day, okay? Now, what I mean by an idea bank, think about different types of topics that might come up in part 1, 2, or 3 of the speaking test, but especially part 2, because you can prepare. So for example, think of your favorite book. If you come to the test and the card says, discuss a book you read that you really enjoyed, don't think, oh, what book did I really enjoy? You should already have a book in mind ready to go. I'm not saying that you should create full answers, full minute and a half answers to any of these topics. I want you to think of a book and I want you to know everything about this book. The plot, the characters, the author, obviously, when it was written, why you liked it, why it's good, why it's bad, what genre, is it fiction, non-fiction, literary, sci-fi, etc. I want you to know everything about this book, and any question or any card that you're given that's about a book, it's going to be that book, no other book. Don't think about books on test day. On test day, you're relaxed, you're comfortable, you're ready for anything. They ask you about a book, you know a book. They ask you about a movie, you know about the movie. So here are some ideas, look these over. If you want a few more ideas, go to my website right to top. On the menu bar, look for the brain mine, and you look for idea bank, and you'll see some more examples that you can prepare there. Look at favorites, look at situations in work, at school, look at situations in your personal life. Be ready to speak about all of these. Now, just a little trick or a little extra tip: book, movie. You can be the same thing. For example, The Shawshank Redemption. People love to talk about this movie because it was a great movie. It's also a book. It was a book first. Stephen King wrote it. It's a short book. I highly recommend you read the book, watch the movie, and any question about books or movies, you're ready to go with that one. Don't think about anything else. Family member, choose one. Anything about a person, you can use that family member. If it's a question about a person who's not a family member, you'll have another one ready to go. Okay? So, describe a tourist attraction that you have visited in the past. You should say where, etc. So I'm going to time myself here a little bit. Okay. So, a great tourist attraction that I had visited in the past was Niagara Falls. Now, I'm from Toronto, Canada, and that's why I like this place very much. It's very beautiful. It's just about an hour south of Toronto. It's in Niagara, Ontario. It's right on the border with the United States. And I've been there many times, and usually I go when family from out of town comes to visit and they've never seen it. I like to take them there because everybody wants to see Niagara Falls. And every time we go, of course, we go down to the falls. We walk along the promenade there and we look at the falls and we take pictures. Sometimes you can also, I mean, I haven't done it, but some of my family members have gone down in the boat on the river. So they get really close to the falls and they get all wet and they take good pictures. But there's also other things to do around Niagara Falls, not only the falls themselves. And actually, that is why I would recommend to anyone who comes to near Toronto or to the area to go see Niagara Falls. Because first of all, it's a beautiful natural landscape. It's something that only nature can do, and it's something that really needs to be seen if you have a chance. But the whole area is actually very nice. There's lots of things to do. There's a casino, if you like casinos. There's a casino in the town of Niagara Falls. And not far, there's another little town called Niagara on the Lake. And it's a nice old town with an old style downtown area. And there are wineries all over the place that you can go visit. And you can try some famous ice wine that's famous to this region of Canada. And I would recommend it because it's really a beautiful place to go and everybody should have a chance to see it at least once in their life. Okay, I didn't really time that, but I hope that's about the right time. So there you go. There's speaking part 2. I hope you're going to be ready. Remember, relax. That's the most important thing you can do. And be confident. You've practiced, you've gotten ready, you've studied English a long time. You can do this. Don't worry about the interviewer. Just worry about yourself. Now, if you have any questions about this, please ask me down below in YouTube, or you can visit my Facebook page, my Twitter, my Instagram. You can come to my website, writetotop.com. You can get more information there about all kinds of IELTS, TOEFL, writing stuff as well. By the way, the idea bank, very useful for writing the essay. You can prepare for that as well. And come again and see me real soon. Oh, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like this, and I'll see you again. Bye.